Have you ever thought, why do I keep eating when I'm not even hungry?
Or maybe you're just overwhelmed by all the diets and wellness trends. It's chaotic out there. Hello, I'm Dr. Yang.
Hi, I'm Zoe, and welcome to Ask the Binge Eating Expert, the podcast where we get real about binge eating and healing your relationship with food.
We're the co-founders of ARCare, the #1 science-backed app helping people stop binge eating. We cut through the noise and tackle the real roadblocks to recovery without shame, without judgments.
Have you ever followed a meal plan, like planned out your meals for the week in advance?
I don't think it's my thing, but I admire people who can stick to it.
I have a friend who's been doing it for over 10 years. For her, meal planning is about convenience, saving money and time, and potentially more.
That's impressive, but I imagine it can also feel restrictive.
But her meals actually look really delicious all the time. She says meal planning helped her discover new recipes she wouldn't have tried otherwise.
I just wonder if it ever feels like a chore. I can see how it would bring peace of mind, though. Not having to decide what to eat every day can really reduce stress.
Yeah, decision fatigue is real. But she also warned against being too rigid. If something doesn't go as planned, she said it's just okay to adjust.
Some people thrive with plans, others find freedom in going with the flow.
I think it's time to read today's letter and see what kind of questions or concerns about meal planning are coming up.
Sounds great.
Recently, I've been seeing a ton of meal planning content on social media. It's all over my feed. Videos of people batch cooking perfect quinoa bowls, what I eat in a day clips, color-coded meal planners, and fridge organization that honestly look like a full-time job. People keep saying meal planning helps with binge eating, but I don't really understand how it works in a way that's not restrictive. I have been struggling with binge eating for years, sometimes better than the other. Every time I've tried planning in the past, I've turned it into a rigid system. Can you explain what flexible, sustainable meal planning looks like for someone recovering from binge eating? How do you build some structure without recreating the old diet mentality? I'd really love to hear if there is a way to do meal planning that actually feels kind and sustainable.
First off, I really hear you, how the idea of meal planning can feel like a trap, especially when your past experience with it turned it into a rigid all or nothing system. That fear of flipping back into restriction makes so much sense.
Totally. I love that you're asking for a different approach, a kind, flexible structure that supports you instead of controlling you. That's a very impactful question. Not how do I follow the rules, but how do I take care of myself in a way that fits me? I'm not an expert, but I'm sure there are many ways to approach meal planning.
Yes, and no matter what kind of meal planning you try, I don't think the goal should be perfection. It's not about never eating emotionally or always knowing what's for dinner 3 days in advance.
Exactly. I think especially for this case, something that supports you in that moment of depletion would be the priority.
Yeah, and that reminds me how important it is to know why you're planning. Are you doing it from a place of fear or a place of care? And when the plan doesn't go as planned, which it won't because life happens, can you return to the plan gently?
Let's bring in a dietitian who specializes in treating people with eating disorders.
Yes, I think she'll offer some incredibly helpful insights on how to create a plan that's truly supportive, not self-punishing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Gaida. I'm a registered dietitian. I own a private practice, Nourish Others, LLC, where I see clients on a one-on-one basis who struggle with disordered eating patterns. I also started up this amazing group called Dietitian Circle, a network of dietitians that work in mental health. We get together twice a week to talk about cases. We have a book club, a co-working group, and support one another because I felt very alone and isolated when I first started my practice, and I do not want that for other people.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Laura. So today's letter is about a user who wants to start meal planning, but has had a negative or more of a controlling experience with it in the past. What's the one key mindset that you should have when you're designing a meal plan?
One of the things that I look at with menu and meal planning is I want to figure out where the diet mentality is taking over. If the diet mentality is taking over in a sense of like, oh, I feel like I can't do this. I feel like I can't have that. I feel like I don't want that. And then it ends up trickling down to body image or anything along that line. So it's good for us to call that out.
I see. So, what's next? Where do I actually start when starting a meal planning?
A strategy that I utilize with clients is asking them more of what do they want to eat? If they could have any restaurant in the world right now, if they could have any kind of food, what would they crave? What would they go for? And that really helps clients to put into perspective of what am I actually wanting? What am I actually craving? And how can I implement that into my week?
Got you. So it begins with listening to your needs and cravings. But what if my favorite meals are hard to prepare or take too much time?
A lot of people think that menu and meal planning has to be this super complex. I have to make, my pasta from the flour. We don't have to do that. Like, we really don't. There are so many just things at our disposal here in the States that's really helpful and supportive for busy schedules. So there's these already semi-prepped meals that you just put in the oven, or there are these frozen dishes that make it so much easier to incorporate in. I know I am a big fan of the bag salads where everything is all included into it and I just have to mix around the dressing. Like, that's so nice to add as a side dish. I just think that people try to make it too complex and that's when it becomes too chore-like. And whenever something becomes chore-like, I do not love this anymore.
Makes sense. So the key is to focus on having the food you enjoy ready to go, not the prep part. Don't overthink or over-engineer that prep part.
How can you keep a meal plan flexible so that you can better stick to it while still having enough structure to avoid slipping back into old habits that didn't serve you?
Whenever we think about menu and meal planning, we want to think about incorporating in fun foods. We want to also think about, can I invite a friend over one of my nights? Can I cook with my partner? Can I try a new recipe? Can I make something that I've been wanting to try for forever? Or can I give myself like a few nights a week or a few meals where I'm going out? That can be a menu and meal planning thing. And it doesn't have to be so structured as like Wednesday, I go out to dinner.
When I hear meal planning, it sounds like I can't really do intuitive eating anymore because, for example, tonight, oh, I really need to have pizza, but then I already have meal prep. Is there a way to balance intuitive eating and then menu and meal planning?
If you're really feeling for that pizza, go for it. You can always do that meal the following night. You can always do that for the following day. There's nobody that said you cannot. An important piece is to also listen to your body and see what your body is needing and what your body is actually prescribing. Maybe your body is saying, I need something. Give me some calcium. That's like a intuitive message that your body is sending you. I just think that a lot of people view menu and meal planning as something that has to keep you into a box, and it really doesn't.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So meal planning should help you enjoy the food you want and need, not the other way around. Do you have any other practical tips around menu and meal planning?
I also encourage clients to have a full backup shelf-stable meals that they like. So whenever I say shelf-stable, I include freezer meals. The classic spaghetti and meatballs. That can be an example of something that you're just like, I don't know what to eat tonight. The item that I'm planning, I'm not really interested in it right now, but I do have this alternative that's actually more of what I'm craving.
Right. I can really see that meal planning is about empowering yourself with easy access to the food you love.
Do you think that approach to meal planning would change as the client or patient goes through their recovery journey?
I hope that my client changes all the time. I want them to be changing constantly in like a way that feels good and sustainable for them. So I think like menu and meal planning, the more that you do it in a way that doesn't feel like as diet prone, the more that they'll develop recipes that they like, right? I know that for me, my go-to recipes have changed throughout my years. I used to be obsessed with this curry, and that was my backup dish. I used to be obsessed with this pizza, and that was my backup. I hope that evolution of food for people happens, and I hope that people find it to be a lot easier because they don't have to think about it as much. It just gives you a little bit more of a repertoire within the food design for them.
Let's say that I love curry like you do, but it seems like whenever I have curry, I eat too much or I overeat. I just really can't control myself. Like, how would you balance those trigger food in planning your meal?
Please don't ever take anything out that you love. Enjoy all the foods. I love curry. And if I had curry more frequently, I'm going to end up getting sick of it at one point. We don't want to eat something for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the rest of our life. In the beginning, we might have like a little bit of a dysbiosis with that relationship, but eventually that'll regulate out. Eventually, you'll be like, "Ooh, curry looks great, but maybe I'm getting a little tired of it." That's like part of this experience. Please don't eliminate things. How do I eat consistently throughout that day? Or do I need to add things earlier on in the day to cut myself up for more success for that curry dinner? If we're super hungry going into that curry dish, like, of course we're going to eat that.
Setting up for you for the success makes a lot of sense. Let's say that yesterday night I had a big binge eating episode and I'm not hungry at all the next morning. Should I still stick to the meal plan or should I be more flexible and then like, okay, like, yeah, let's pass?
That's a question I get often. Laura, what's the after? What I tell people is don't go into the restriction binge cycle again. Don't keep feeding that restriction binge cycle. If there was a binge that happened the night before, try the next day to meet the meal plan as much as we can. It really is like trying to re-regulate back in. Now, if we're feeling full discomfort still, then try to have something that's a little easier digestible. Something like a blended smoothie or something along that line. Find your foods that feel a little bit easier to break down, but still try to keep on a consistent food pattern. It also doesn't mean that you need to eat everything on your meal plan at that next day, but try to regulate the timing and try to not restrict yourself. Try your best to get back into that meal plan regulation.
I'm curious how you think about these treats, chocolates, candies, ice cream, where a lot of people say there's always room for dessert. What kind of tip you might have for navigating these and also how that relates to the way we think about meal planning?
These are all the questions that I get asked like on the daily. We need to look at destigmatizing sugar. One of the ways is to have it purposefully incorporated in. If we're looking at menu and meal planning, is there something that we can add to lunch that would be like a cookie? Or could we add brownie to dinner? Could we add something purposely into that experience to help destigmatize sugar and also incorporate it in what feels a bit more controlled manner? If somebody feels like, but Laura, you're going to ask me to bring like a box of cookies into my home? Okay, let's talk about that for a second, right? Maybe we start off with going to a bakery and getting one-off cookie, and we'll take a baby step to get you into that zone where it feels more comfortable to have the cookies in the house.
I love that baby steps comment because I've heard that commonly about, for example, I can't have a pint or a gallon in my house because I just finished it. And so how can I incorporate actually ice cream in my day-to-day? But I think what you're suggesting is maybe just have a scoop outside or just start small and then, work up to being more comfortable having it around.
Develop more successes around having it. It'll build up your confidence. Yeah, I can do this. Because there was a point in your life whenever that dynamic and that relationship probably wasn't where it is now. You just need to reconnect to it. And I think where diet culture got messy and got sticky with it is it said like, you can't have that. Whenever somebody's saying like, you have to clean your room, what's the thing you don't want to do? Clean your room. The world was telling you don't eat ice cream ever. What's the one thing that you're wanting? Ice cream. And you're wanting it in secret. And you're wanting it to be in large quantities because you don't know when you're going to allow it again. Have it and have more successes. And also prep earlier on in the day for that success.
That's a great point. So with meal planning, you start having more positive experiences with food, even if you've had a difficult relationship with it in the past. What are some other common blockers you see in clients?
A lot of clients come to me, they have like just like a guideline of rules that they've been following. And for me, it's about disseminating and break down all of those rules from a nutrition science perspective. Whenever somebody says sugar is bad, I'm like, sugar is actually just a carb. Is it really no bad? Providing some of that nutrition education, breaking it down to be like, this is why we don't have to be afraid of it. This is why we don't have to be fearful. Because really, they just want a healthy dynamic and relationship with food. And they just need to like kind of fall into that like accountability space.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to the Ask the Binge Eating Expert podcast so you never miss an episode. Have a question you want us to answer? Email us at askthebingeeatingexpert@gmail.com.
Please note, the advice provided on this podcast is not a substitute for professional treatment, therapy, or clinical care. If you're looking for additional support or want to take action on your own terms, check out the Our Care app, the #1 science-backed app for overcoming binge eating.